On your Thursday episode of Locked On Raptors, it's a mailbag show, including questions from you, the freaks, about Giannis Antetokounmpo, of course.
You are Locked On Raptors, your daily Toronto Raptors podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's going on? And welcome to another episode of Locked On Raptors, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. It is Thursday, December the 4th, and I am your host, Sean Woodley. I've been covering the Toronto Raptors now for 12 seasons on various platforms. You can find all my work over on Blue Sky. You can find the show on Instagram. You can join us in the Locked On Raptors Discord server. 100% free to join, as always. Link in the description of the podcast. We'd love to see you there. Become part of our listener community. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. And we're off and running here on a mailbag show with the wonderful Katie Heindl, as it is, of course, a Thursday on the podcast. Katie, how are you? We're both under a bit of a time crunch today, so this is going to be a rapid-fire mailbag. Are you ready for all these questions?
I am, and I'm great. Let's go.
Perfect. All right, first question comes from Kaz, asking, of course, something about Giannis, because yesterday it was reported that Giannis and the Bucks have had conversations vaguely about sending him somewhere else for employment, et cetera, et cetera. It seems like a thinly veiled light trade request by Giannis. The question here from Cause is, Wendy's reporting that Giannis told the Bucks he wanted to trade before the season started. Given the success of the Raptors so far this year, does that make it more or less likely you would want to trade for Giannis if the return is reasonable? If the return is, I forgot the part of the question that got cut off by StreamYard. It's Scottie Barnes is the return. Makes this a lot more juicy. Katie, I will say, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see my little name bar. I have officially moved on from the idea of Giannis to the Toronto Raptors. And I think at this point, I'm cool that this just one just sort itself out somewhere else around the league. Maybe it's because Masai Ujiri has gone and left his Captain Ahab energy at the door, and no longer am I seeking to hunt down Moby Dick, a.k.a. Giannis Antetokounmpo, for the Toronto Raptors. Maybe I'm just enjoying watching a cool, fun team that's only 22 games into its life and would like to see where it goes from here, see what other potential swing trades they could make down the road after we get some more information. But I got to say, especially if Scottie Barnes is the return, I know it probably means they just don't get Giannis, and I've made my peace with that, but I do not think I'd be into this. Katie, what about you?
No way, dude. I'm so sick of Giannis. I'm so sick of... You can turn on the flames.
Hold on. Yeah, we got to get the flames going. Give me a second here. I'll play the music. Take it away, Hot Take Heindl.
I truly am. I am very sick of Giannis. I am sick of this, like, do I want to stay? I don't want to stay. Maybe I will. Maybe I won't. What are you going to do to entice me? Like, I do understand the parameters of it in Milwaukee to a degree, but it's also like, I don't want to bank on this guy, and I don't think you should trade Scottie for it. I don't think you should kind of blow up what you've worked very hard over seasons to finally get a toehold in. And I just think, like, I might be one step further than you. I might be over like the fickleness of stars in the sense of like, you need to, I think the model of needing to tie your franchise. If you're a franchise, your team, if you're a player, then you're like secondary star to the wagon of a superstar, given how much it can cost you, essentially to basically like blow you into smithereens of that other star's orbit or fire or whatever, for your best shot to get a title. Like, this guy has made that team miserable for seasons now. Yes, he's Giannis. I totally understand that, but I'm honestly so bored of it, and I think he just needs to make a decision. If he was a friend of yours and this was something you heard about every other month, you would be like, I can't talk to you about this anymore.
Get out of the relationship. It clearly is not working for you.
Quit your job. Yeah. Get out of the relationship. Make the big change you're clearly just like desperate for someone to give you permission to do.
Yeah. Well, that was as impressive a Hot Take Heindl rant as I think we've ever heard. Goodbye, Flames. I don't know if there's a whole lot more to add on top of that. I think you know, I kicked around yesterday, you know, because you post about this stuff because you get engagement when you do it. You know, I've floated a fake trade out there where it's like RJ Barrett plus Jakob Poeltl plus Colin Murray-Boyles and the picks for Giannis and Thanasis. And then I said, then also sign Alex Antetokounmpo just to complete the trio. If you can get like a buy low version of a Giannis trade, sure, fine. But I also think at this point, there's going to be enough teams out there in the running that have sort of more blue chip prospects to offer up, whether it's Dylan Harper from the Spurs or, any number of guys from the Atlanta Hawks or the Pelicans pick from the Atlanta Hawks. Like, I don't think you're going to be in the running unless you include Scottie Barnes. And at this point, I'm cool. Just watch the Scottie Barnes experience. He's been awesome. He's been super fun. Is he Giannis? No, but not everybody needs to be Giannis. And I feel like this is personal growth, Katie, because I've been just like, every time Giannis is available, I'm like, let's go. What do we do? What do we throw at the Bucks to get him? And now I think watching a good team play good basketball, I have officially decided.
Changes you.
Yeah, it really does. Watching a team not try to actively lose basketball games. It's a pretty wild thing. So yeah, I think I'm out on the Giannis thing for now and for good. Next up, Katie, from Wilcox1232. Do you remember an East this bunched up before? We've got 10 legit playoff teams, then the Bucks too. Would you rather be in the East like this or the West where there's more clear tiers? I'll go first. I'm enjoying watching Eastern Conference basketball big time. I feel like there's hope for all of the top 9 or 10 teams in the conference. Let's say 9. The Bulls, they're hopeless. But the top 9, I think they're all pretty fun. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how these teams match up come playoff time. And I think throughout the regular season, you're just getting really cool, interesting Eastern Conference matchups night in, night out. And it's a fun thing to be part of the party in the East. When you're out West, yeah, maybe you can get the 4 seed, but are you really getting any better than that? Are you going to advance beyond any of the 3 Titans out there? Probably not. So yeah, I'm loving Eastern Conference life. Yeah, it's a tougher slog night to night. You don't get to play the Grizzlies and the Mavs every night, but you do get to play other teams that are your contemporaries, which is good for personal growth, as we're going to continue the theme, as you get to go up against those who are your sort of, equals within the conference, and you get to see how you stack up. I think that rocks. Katie, what about you?
I'm enjoying it. I feel like in terms of the question of this being as bunched up, maybe those Kyle DeMar like tragedy playoff seasons, because
like
I think
anything below the LeBron tier was,
yeah, because it's like for that team, and I'm not trying to reverse how I think decent that team was for them to get to the playoffs every season, in that era. But for them to be able to do that, I do think it speaks to this phenomenon, if we want to call it that. Though we could also just call it parody. Like you, I'm enjoying how kind of there aren't any tiers. I don't necessarily need that. I don't really like that in NBA basketball. I don't like there to be like a clear contender. I think it's quite boring. And, to your point, I think what's interesting is like all the teams that are kind of bunched up or facing each other in the East now are almost like 1 or 2 seasons removed from one another in terms of where they are in their developmental and competitive trajectories. You know what I mean? So, I mean, and this is me taking out like the Celtics, who I think lead everybody just in terms of the years that group's been together and very good. But everyone else, like there's not that much daylight between these teams. So it's kind of like you just basically dropped a bunch of people into a place and have been like, good luck. So
yeah, duke it out. It's a real battle royale of kind of pretty good teams, and it's pretty fun. I will say, I am glad, and maybe we differ on this, and that's fine, but I do like when there's a big bad in the league that everyone's trying to take down. Maybe the Thunder are just like a little too ratcheted up, and it's like impossible to take them down at any point in the near future. I don't think that's actually true. I think having a team like that does kind of force the league to evolve and adapt and sort of level up and gear up to try to take down a team that good. And I think it's good for the health of the league to have one team that's sort of the pace setter for everybody else.
Yeah.
My favorite era of NBA basketball is the Warriors dynasty, because I just feel like the level of basketball we got trying to take those teams down was so good. And, you still have your sort of dregs and you have your middle class of the league and all of that. I'm glad the big bad is not in the Eastern Conference. I think it's cool that whoever comes into the East just gets to come up against this monster at some point in June. And it's, we'll see how they fare. Maybe they get lucky. Maybe they actually have the juice to win. But I think like the sort of landscape of the league right now is pretty fun. I think you have like the Rockets and Nuggets. They feel like legitimate teams that could bring down the Thunder dynasty and make it in the making. And if they don't, then every year the Thunder win, it's just going to become that much more dramatic to see who can bring them down. And I think that is good for the old sports brain. We're going to come back to the side here, Katie, and continue on with this rapid fire mailbag. we've got a couple of like normal basketball questions, and then we're getting real weird at the end. We're going to rush through the normal basketball questions because I want to get to the weird coming up in just one sec. Today's show is brought to you by Robinhood. What if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood prediction markets changes the game. It's people moving the action. So when momentum shifts, you can move with it. You maybe always have known the game, but have never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now you can actually take part live in a market powered by people. You're no longer just a spectator. Play-by-play, you decide. Trade every play with Robinhood. Now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app to begin. Today's show is also brought to you by our friends over at Doer. The holidays are here, and look, I'm not stressing about what to wear to all my holiday parties because I got my Doer jeans that they sent me. They are the best. They look great. They feel great. They're super comfortable, and because they're antibacterial, they stay clean and fresh much longer than my other pants. Doer's denim and lifestyle apparel is engineered for movement and versatility. Whether you're on the go and traveling, lounging at home, or going to a nice dinner party, if you don't have your own Doers, now is the time. I'm the kind of person who likes to lounge at home in my jeans. My wife thinks it's insane. Maybe you think it's insane as well, but it's a little less insane when I'm wearing my fleece-lined taper denim from Doer. They're super comfortable, and I can kind of have the illusion of wearing sweats around the house while also looking good in case, unexpected company comes over. We got a baby. Everyone's trying to meet the baby all the damn time. And so having some nice pants to have on in that emergency situation, pretty sweet. Right now, you can go to 44 Ossington Avenue in Toronto to pick up your pair of Doer jeans, and you're going to love them. You can pick up a pair for yourself. You can get them as a holiday gift as well. Mention my promo code LOCKEDONToronto in store to get 15% off your first order, or check them out online at doer.ca/LockedOnToronto for 15% off. That's DUER.ca/LockedOnToronto. Go get some pants. Back at it here with the rapid fire mailbag with Katie Heindl. Next question from Nico is, does the lack of driving/rim pressure when RJ's out of the lineup change what kind of guy you'd ideally plug into this roster to fully optimize it? Maybe a strictly 3-and-D wing isn't the key. For now, RJ Barrett doing a pretty good job of optimizing what this team has going, Katie, I'd say. Again, you're always going to be looking at sort of what kind of upgrades you could make over time because that's what the Toronto Raptors do as a franchise. I'm not quite worried about what you got to find to plug into the roster just yet. But I will say 3-and-D, like straight up, you shoot threes and play defense wings, kind of a thing of the past. You got to have more. You got to be able to move with the ball, without the ball. You got to have some decision-making chops. Like, I think the level of the league, to the point of the Thunder kind of making everyone have to be better, I think it is leveling up the type of role players who succeed in the NBA and having guys who can do stuff with the ball. I think we're seeing with the Raptors right now, when they're at full strength, they're full starting five, everyone can do stuff with the ball. And I think that is sort of the ideal thing to be looking for in any role player going forward. Guys who are not just stationary 3-and-D guys. Your Dorian Finney-Smiths, Dorian Finney-Smith, are going to be a thing of the past as the league continues to evolve here. Katie, what do you think about this one? You're also muted.
Sorry, I was scarfing eggs. A little behind BTS for the listeners.
What kind of eggs? This is important. This is my mailbag question to you.
Sure. Well, I got to do like a protein heavy kind of thing before I go train. So it's 2 eggs with like a bunch of cottage cheese. And then I add spinach because now I'm anemic. And then I top it off with sesame seeds because I feel like it tastes much better.
Fun. All right. Back to the basketball question.
A lot of facts about me.
We love it.
I'm not saying the question is flawed, but I think there's a little bit of almost like recency bias in the question, and the fact that like with RJ being out, and I think the team relying so heavily on Brandon Ingram, which, like, to be fair, why wouldn't you? But we're also seeing a little bit of that fatigue. I think in the last few games the team's dropped, when like opponents have figured that out a little bit. That's when I think you're seeing this lack of driving pressure, right? Of rim pressure, because they're not relying on it really in the offensive schemes. So I do think this will be, as you say, like eased up once he's back. I also think as a whole, this team needs to figure out more ways to win, right? Like more ways to like keep up offensive pressure. They love the mid-range, obviously. They love the paint. They're great in there. I don't think... So I guess I also don't necessarily see this lack because I feel like, yeah, maybe they're defensive rebounding. I mean, they're also moving too fast.
That's gotten
sometimes.
better.
Yeah,
Since
it has.
Turtle's
It has.
back improved. They've been fine in the glass.
I was gonna say, like, sometimes the offensive rebounding, if there's not a second chance, then they're moving too quickly, right? They're getting back in transition. So I think that's why they're not doing that. But I guess I don't see this as I don't see this as a big problem yet.
You can
but
say
I don't
the
think it
question's
will be.
bad. Nico's a good sport. You could say the question stinks.
I don't think it's I don't think the question stinks. I think that
I'm
not
put the flames
seeing.
up for a second again.
Please
but
don't.
Okay, I won't.
Do it, and I'll say I'm anemic.
Okay.
I'm anemic. I think I'm not seeing the lack maybe as prevalently, or when I see it, I realize that things are going to happen to change it.
Yeah, like the important basketball player is going to come back in the lineup at some point. Yeah, I think like the overall sort of question here, if you're looking to upgrade or optimize this roster, I think the basic thing is just like, to the point of the Giannis thing, but not to specifically the Giannis thing. Like this team is always going to be open to trading for stars when they become available, when they're maybe distressed assets. And like at that point, I think what they've done here to have all these guys kind of playing in good form is put them in position to be in a good spot to make those kinds of trades when they come along. Maybe not for a Giannis level top 5 player, but certainly I think, maybe it's an Emmanuel quickly for an improved lead guard type or something like that down the line, right? Like that's, I think, the way this roster gets optimized. And then, yeah, if you can kind of get some improvement from your young dudes off the bench, that'll help things too. But yeah, I don't know if this is a clear and glaring problem when RJ Barrett's back in the lineup, which is a good thing because RJ's good. Kind of to this sort of vein, question from Dantos asking, who and what does the team need to do to mitigate the cliff the Raptors drop off when one of the starters are out? Yeah, I mean, the offense has certainly fallen off a cliff without RJ Barrett. You'd like to not see that. No Jakob Poeltl tonight against the Lakers. Obviously, when he's not in the lineup, they're a little less effective, though I think they are way more equipped this year with Mamu and Scottie and Colin Murray-Boyles to survive without him. I think for me on this one, Katie, it's just like, this is life in the NBA where there's a second apron. You can only afford so many really good players, and the Raptors have devoted a lot of resources to their starting 5. Like, this is kind of the way things go. You're going to miss guys and you're going to hurt. Look at the Cavaliers, right? Like, they miss one guy in their starting 5 and they look like a completely different team. It's just kind of the way it goes. You got to hope for health, and the Raptors so far, knock on wood, have been healthy. But yeah, I think for this, it really is just a matter of try to stay healthy as best you can. And then when guys are out, hopefully you have younger dudes in behind who kind of take steps on the fly and kind of evolve in time. And, we're early in the season. I think there's still plenty of room for Grady Dick, Jacoby Walter, Colin Murray-Boyles to be the dudes who fill those gaps as sort of the next man up. But next man up is kind of a faulty sort of concept in the modern NBA because teams cannot afford to have next men up who are going to fill in exactly what you're missing. Thoughts on this one, Katie?
Well, the Pacers are the worst case example of this, right? Yeah. Because you look at that team and you look at them lose and you're like, there's no way, I tried to unravel this at Basketball Feelings last week, but it's hard for me to look at them and think like, this is not the same team because largely all those personnel are on the floor, right?
Yeah.
You're just missing a few keys, but you see what can happen when those people are out and how essentially the team doesn't work the same way without them. I don't think the Raptors are in such dire straits. I actually think that in terms of production, all the guys you mentioned at the end there, plus I would think like, I want to see more from Ochai. I want to see more, like Shed's been great, but as the de facto sort of leader of that second unit, like how does he make them honestly work a little harder? Like I need to see more from Grady Dick, like where he is in his career. Even I think I do expect a jump. That's the thing. I expect jumps from all these guys, but I think the difficult thing is you can never know when it's going to happen. And, as I've said time and time again, this team is going to have plateaus all throughout the season. So maybe this is the bench plateau, right? Like this is them not necessarily looking great. And I'm sure they will figure something out. And then they will probably plateau again as they get figured out. But it does take a little while for a bench to look cohesive. And, to your point in the second apron of it all, a lot of these guys are on very similar contracts, if not where they are in their development. So they're going to kind of look the same. And it's too expensive to get Oh, role playing. Well, I guess they had that in Bruce Brown, and it didn't always work, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To have like kind of a role player with a lot of experience coming off the bench. So this is who we have, and I do trust that they'll take a leap.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Okay, silly basketball questions out of the way. We're gonna get back on the other side with questions about the French Revolution and also a question from Satan himself. We'll do that coming up in just one sec. Wrong button. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. The World Cup is coming back to North America for the first time since 1994. With 48 teams for the first time ever, it's going to be huge. But let's be honest, getting tickets is usually the hardest part. That's why Game Time is clutch. Finally gives fans a real advantage when it comes to snagging seats. With Game Time, you can track price drops in real time, get alerts when great seats open, and buy tickets in the moment. But they hit the app. It puts the power back in your hands and makes going to the World Cup realistic instead of totally impossible. You pull up the app. The layout makes it so simple to scroll through matchups and compare seat views. You can pick a game, tap a section, have your tickets locked within minutes. No confusion, no hunting for fine print. It's going to be a hot ticket when the World Cup's in Toronto next year. It's going to be hard to find those tickets, but Game Time will be your easiest way. I've used Game Time hundreds of times, literally, to go to concerts, sporting events, comedy shows, both in Toronto and abroad. It is awesome. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets for the World Cup, plus concerts, whatever event you want to go to with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDINNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, download the app, make an account, use the code LOCKEDINNBA for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. It's Game Time. All right, we're here with the fun stuff now, Katie. Question here from Cause asking, Bobby Webster comes to you and says the Raptors have completed a trade for one of Trae Young, LaMelo Ball, or Ja Morant. Assuming the return for all three is the same, who do you hope it's for? I feel like the answer on this one's pretty obvious, but I will defer to you, Katie, to answer first this horrible, horrible question that Cause has thrown upon us. A good question, but a horrible one.
Yeah, it's just like which brat do you want right now for where they are in their like brat arc? A part of like I never stop rooting for Ja Morant. But
it's tough scene.
This is crazy. This is crazy to say this. I'm like, I guess I'll pick Trae Young. That's crazy.
That's the right answer, Katie.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I never even considered LaMelo Ball.
No. Have you watched him play basketball? I've seen it twice, and we'll see it a third time by the time the week is out. I hate it. I'm so glad it's over before Christmas. Yeah, a nightmare to watch that guy play. It turns out when they bench him, they play pretty good basketball and beat the Raptors. Who'd have thunk? Yeah, it's Trae Young, obviously. Again, none of these guys I'm like stoked on. I think Ja Morant at sort of his like ideal version of himself is the one I'd most enjoy watching play for the basketball team I like. But are we sure that his ideal self is attainable anymore? And it's not just, the off-court stuff, which like, that's kind of in the past at this point. It's really just like, is he the same player? Does he have the athletic juice? What's his kind of vibe? Is he just kind of going to be this sad dude dragging down the mood of the locker room like it seems is the case in Memphis right now? Maybe a change of scenery is all he needs, but between the injury stuff and just like the general decline of all the cool dunks, I think it's a tough one to go and pursue. Trae Young, at least he's a free agent after this year, right? Like it's just like, okay, contract's up. We did it, and I guess we move on with our lives if things don't go well. He does have a track record of leading very good offenses. I think him playing with Scottie Barnes would probably be all right. I don't want to watch Trae Young play for my basketball team, Katie. I really don't. But I think he's the clear answer here, without a doubt. Now, Katie, the question that I teased up for you that I think got you the most excited to the point that it inspired your name bar on the screen if you're watching on YouTube. Jeff Exelon asks, in trying to expand our metaphors for talking about basketball, we'd like to know, will the Raptors be the French Revolution, or is this just the June Rebellion of 1832 that doesn't really go anywhere but gets to be the setting of a famous novel and Broadway musical? Katie, it's been a while since I brushed up on my French Revolutionary history. I think like 10th grade is maybe the last time I really dug into it deep. But I have to ask you, where do you come down on this one as someone who I think is more of a student of this stuff than I?
I mean, it ended pretty bad. Like it succeeded in its means, but everybody got beheaded at one point or turned on everybody else. So you're like, who's a Robosphere? I don't think we want one. I don't think we, I'm like,
we don't want the Toronto Raptors to get guillotined.
Yeah, like I don't. There's like some minor players in the Revolution. I don't mind, but I was excited by this question because literally yesterday I referred to what happened to Chris Paul as like Napoleon being exiled in the middle of the night. And he is the NBA's Napoleon. So
without a doubt, he's the NBA's Napoleon.
Yeah.
Not even close.
So maybe the NBA is due for a French. Well, you know who should be having a French Revolution right now? The W. But that's.
Who's the Robespierre of the NBA, of the WNBA? Tune in to Locked On Women's Basketball for that later this week.
Could be Asia without the terrible ending, but in terms of like a great leader.
Yeah. Everyone keeps their heads in this situation. Ideally.
No, I think I don't think this is I don't think this is full French Revolution. I don't think we need one, which I was trying to think like, is that what the question is asking? Maybe in the Tampa season they did.
Is there some sort of like corollary between Masai Ujiri and the ownership group and like there feels like there's maybe something there? Was Masai Ujiri the Robespierre?
Maybe it was
the monarchy that is Ed Rogers.
Yeah, maybe it was actually Masai. Again, without the bloody ending. But let's go June. Let's go June Rebellion. I don't know.
Yeah,
but I also don't want it to not go anywhere. Can't this just be after the fact?
Yeah. This is the nice interstitial period where surely everything was nice in like 1820, right? Everything was good. Everything was fine.
I mean, a lot of people still did not have their rights. I
used there was some tongue in cheek there, but yes.
Yeah, the phrase I used in the bar was mostly, I will point out, to refer to like wealthy white landowning men, not women or any person of color. So, this is tough. I don't want the Raptors associated with the French Revolution. They don't need it right now.
Yeah, the thing is, Katie, if you look back at all of our history, it's all pretty bad. Everything, it all stinks. And so hopefully the Raptors are breaking new ground and, bringing a more progressive basketball metaphors going forward.
Let's say that they can be Napoleon's tactical genius, rather. Pre-Waterloo bloated ego death.
Perfect. Katie, no better way to close out the podcast than that, I think. We will leave it there. Thank you to all of you for your questions. And thanks for being all right with the expedited mailbag today, as we both have things we got to do before the Raptors take on the Lakers tonight. Yeah, we're busy folks. I have like trains to ride and stuff. And I will be on the Scores NBA show with Joey Cash this week, so you can check that out. That's where I'm headed after this. But yeah, Katie, anything you want to promote for the good people out there?
I'm going to be on NBA TV Saturday, Sunday evenings, so you can tune in pretty much from like 8 to midnight. I'm there.
Sweet. Everyone go and do that, and go subscribe to Basketball Feelings and read about Chris Paul being Napoleon. And we will leave it there. Talk to you again on Friday. We'll talk about Raptors Lakers. Looking forward to that as we send you off into the weekend. Follow, subscribe, rate, review, join the Discord, and also stay tuned for a big announcement from the Locked On Network on Monday. That tease, baby. We'll leave it there. Thank you so much for hanging. Bye-bye. I missed so bad yesterday, Katie. I really got to get back on the board.